Hello, hi everyone, and welcome to NLP and the Coronavirus Day 45. Just kidding. Day 24 in actual fact. But you probably noticed that we're in a different setting today. There's a reason for that. On Saturday morning, I'm doing a live streamed training into Romania, actually. And the organizers of that summit, that conference for that weekend, said that they want all their trainers, all their presenters to be standing up. And obviously I've been doing all of my NLP and coronaviruses sat down since I've been home. Admittedly, when I was in Hawaii, some of them were from the beach. So I needed to check out the tech, check out the layout and all those kind of things. So I thought, what better way of testing it out is to test it out with our NLP and coronavirus live. So welcome to my library. And I'm still playing around with the lighting and the angles and all that kind of stuff, but give us some thumbs up if you like it, and I'll do some more from the library with the flip chart rather than it just being me and my guests talking. So this evening, I was working with one of my private clients this afternoon, doing a 4-hour mentoring session, obviously virtually online over Zoom. And one of the things that they were experiencing was that they've been very, very successful in their business and career. Now they've moved to having some goals in some of the other areas of their life, but they were finding that they weren't really taking the action. And I know a lot of you, once we get out of stabilize and we get into ground, then we're moving into grow, are starting to look at your goals. Now, the thing that I think is really important before we get to the point where we set goals is that we know what our values are. Because the goals that we achieve will be the ones that are most in alignment with our values. So this is a process I took him through this afternoon, and he found it really, really, really useful. So I thought, well, what am I going to talk about tonight? We'll talk about this, okay? So for those of you who are familiar with NLP, this will be a refresher. For those of you that are new to NLP, this will be new. This is from a model from Robert Dilts, which I actually like. A number of people in NLP don't like it. I like it because, in a certain context, it explains things very, very well. And it's the fact that we have levels in our mind, going from the very conscious surface level all the way down to the deeper, more unconscious level. And on the very outside is our results, the results that we're getting. But we were talking about goals specifically. So goals are about results. And we achieve our goals, we achieve our results through our behaviors, or from an NLP point of view, the strategies that we run. And my client knew the goal, knew the behaviors, but just wasn't taking action, which we know that to achieve goals you've got to take action. But we can go deeper into the levels of the mind, which is then we've got beliefs. Beliefs are like on-off switches. So we've got to make sure that when we set goals, we actually believe that we can achieve them. Now, believing we can achieve them doesn't mean knowing how you're going to achieve them. It's just believing that you can achieve them, that you will achieve them, and even if you don't know how you're going to achieve them, you'll find a way. Okay? And then there are values. Now, values are what motivates us. They are what determines how we spend our time. So this is the area that I want to focus on in this session, because the majority of people, as we come down here, we become more and more unconscious. The majority of people aren't consciously aware of what their values actually are. And certainly my client today wasn't. Yeah. But just for completeness, if we then drop even further down, we have what's called our identity, which are a higher level kind of beliefs, which are around beliefs that start I am X, whether that's a empowering belief or a disempowering belief. And here's an example that I think some people are actually experiencing at the moment. We've got a change in our environment. It's meaning we're having to work in different ways. It's meaning I'm having to live stream to a training, whereas I was booked in to go to Romania, which I was looking forward to. I'd never been to Romania before, and I'd be live on stage with around about 400 or 500 people. But we can't do that right now. So now we're going to have to do it this way, which is different behaviors, which brings up different limiting beliefs. There are people who go, I can't present to camera, I can't do things virtually. I had to really think about this myself. When I realized that to work with my clients and to do trainings, I've got to do it this way, I had limiting beliefs come up. Either limiting belief of like I can't do it, or a limiting belief of they won't pay me for it. They won't. I'm sitting at home. They're not going to pay for that, etc., etc., etc. Whatever those beliefs may be. And then I went, but you've been working with clients virtually for years, and and it's absolutely true. My international clients. They might come and visit me once for a breakthrough session, but for the follow-up sessions, and I'm going to fly from the other side of the world for an hour, so we've done it virtually. But I just hadn't got that in my mind, so that was a big breakthrough for me. But then you might also go like, well, I'm not a techie, I'm not good with technology, I'm not good with computers, I'm not good on camera, blah, 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 down here, which could cause problems. Now, if some of you have those kind of things, please, put it in the comments, because it's something that we can deal with later. A lot of people who are very, very proficient face-to-face, whether it's on stage or whether it's one-to-one, have had all these beliefs coming up that they can't do this like I'm doing here. I did too, and I've been doing this, for 30 years. So please put a comment about it, and I'll see what we can do to sort that out, to help you with that. But the key thing was with this client was here, values. Believed he could achieve the goals, knew what to do to achieve the goals, but for some reason there was no motivation. And values are all about motivation. Values determine how we spend our time. Okay, so the areas of our life, can we see that? Okay, yeah. The areas of our life actually are in a hierarchy. So we've got life up here. Yeah, what's in our life values. And then below that we have our business and career, we have our relationship, we have family, we have health and fitness, we have personal development, and we have spirituality. Those are like 6 areas of life arbitrarily that come down underneath our life values. Plus there might be other things, like excitement or learning as a life value. Any of those kind of things might also come up too. Then you'll notice from this hierarchy, which may be even different from the way I taught values if you did master practitioner with me, which is when we do values, is that now when I'm working on business and career, that's normally the way that people create or generate their money and wealth. So when I'm doing a breakthrough session particularly, or coaching with somebody around business and career, then I'll also elicit their values for money and wealth. The relationship here we're talking about is your primary relationship, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, which is quite a for most people, a unique relationship in that it's an intimate and it's a sexual relationship. So if I'm working with my clients around relationship, whether it's somebody who's single and wants to get into a relationship, or it's a couple that are not that are struggling at this point in time and not creating things the way they want it, then I'll also elicit their values for sex as well. And I've put lines under here because these are hierarchies. There's a number of values underneath. So, what I want you to do, this is a little bit of tasking, a little bit of homework. I know a lot of people wanting to work on yourself whilst we're in this lockdown situation. And I always like to give people who watch this something to do, some action that they can take, that they can work on. A lot of people have been contacting me around the fact that they were feeling anxious or having anxiety. And a lot of, there's two reasons for anxiety. One is that you're not focusing on what you want, which is something that I talked about in previous Facebook Lives. But also, it's around putting yourself in a situation where you think there's nothing that you can do. And so, for me personally, if I'm in a situation of like, I'm stuck, no options, there's absolutely nothing I can do about this, then I tend to feel anxious. But then when I go, okay, I can do this, and I start taking action on it, then strangely, and start focusing on what I want as a result of that action, strangely, my anxiety seems to evaporate and disappear. So there's an exercise for you to do. So pick one of these areas, or if you want to, pick an area a day. Interestingly, I don't normally work with people around their life values, but with my coaching client today, it was a particular area of his life that he got goals, and he just was finding that he wasn't taking action on it. And so I went like, okay, the action, motivation, values, always values, right? So I went to elicit the values in that area of the client's life. And he kind of like drew a blank. So I went like, okay, interesting. Now I'd had this situation with a number of clients in the past. So I went to hear what's important to you about life. And interestingly, the area of life where he was finding no motivation, though he had goals, wasn't in his life values. So we did an intervention to change that, put that value, that area of his life in his hierarchy, and then suddenly he had a values hierarchy underneath that. Okay, so here's the process. Here's how you do it. It's very, very simple. For the particular area that you've chosen, ... relationship, business, career, whatever, then you ask yourself the question, what's important to me about my business? What's important to me about my career? What's important to me about my job? What's important to me about my relationship? What's important to me about my family? What's important to me about my life? And you'll find a number of answers come out really, really quickly. Now, values are, in general, not things, and they're not behaviors. So if we looked at health and fitness as an example, what's important to you about your health and fitness? They might go running. Well, running's a behavior, not a value. So you then might go, okay, so what does running do for you in the context of health and fitness? What's important to you about running in health and fitness? And the person comes back, energy. Now, energy is a value, okay? So we're wanting like single words, short phrases, something like that, which are not behaviors and they're not things. And you'll find a number of these things trip out really quickly. But it's important then that you go to what we call the second wave, because the things that trip out most quickly are the values which are closest to the surface, you're most consciously aware of. So when you go like, out they come, then you go, okay, so what else is important to me about? And what you'll find is there's some new values come up. They're the ones that are most unconscious. And quite often the ones that are most unconscious are the most important. So once we've run out, when there are just no more values coming up, or you're getting the same answers coming up, then what you do is you put them into a hierarchy. You ask yourself, okay, which of these is the most important, then which is the next most important, which is the next most important, which is the next most important. And the things that we're interested in, because these determine how you spend your time, are the top 4 or 5 values in any of those hierarchies. Yep. So that's your first task to work on, because then I'll talk to you about how those values work from a motivational point of view, whether they're motivating you away from pain or towards pleasure. And then also I'll be working with you around how to set goals that are in alignment with your values. So I know lots of you are doing this kind of stuff, taking full advantage of the lockdown and the so-called lack of distractions. I know a lot of you have been distracted even more whilst you're in lockdown because you've got your partner, you've got your family around you, etc. And this whole thing about us having way more time than we usually have. Personally, I'm finding I'm very, very busy. But I know some of you want to work on this stuff and take the opportunity. So I wanted to give you something tangible that you can do to find out what motivates you unconsciously. And then in some of our future Facebook Lives, then I'll be working with you as to what you can do with those answers that you get. So thanks for joining me. Please share this with anybody that you think will love it. Please put comments, thumbs up if this was useful. I'm kind of like mind reading again, what things might be useful for you from the kind of feedback I'm getting back from people that I'm speaking to on the phone, on social media, or Zoom, and my private clients that I'm working with as to what they are experiencing at the moment. So please let me know though. Thumbs up, share, put comments, questions, any of those kind of things. And wherever you are in the world, I love you lots, and hoo-wee-ho.